please put your cell phones and pages out to turn off. Appreciate it. This is almost the last meeting of this council. I was driving to City Hall, a black hat with a white face just crossed it. So I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, I'd like to see this meeting end with good positive results and we will not have much or any activity, okay? And I'm going to try to do some best. All right. Today is April the 19th. It's Tuesday, 2016, and the time is 5:30 a few seconds. Regular meeting of the City Council, City of Alpine comes to order. And if you all stand for the invocation, I'm going to ask you to bless this gathering.
My name is JoBeth McLeod. I'm the pastor of the First Presbyterian Church here in Alpine, Texas, and the president of the Alpine Ministerial Alliance. Let's pray together. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we stand in awe of this amazing planet, which you spoke into existence, and therefore we praise your name in all the earth. Thank you for creating us, sustaining us, and saving us throughout all the changing and challenging experiences of our lives. This evening, we ask your blessing upon our mayor, our city council representatives, our city staff members, and our city employees. Help us individually and collectively to be good stewards of our time, our talents, and our resources, especially the land, the air, and the water, which you have placed in our care. Inspire us to have a positive and realistic vision for what our city can become, as well as the willingness and the determination to follow through on our plans and on our promises. Grant to each one of us the energy and the wisdom to create a community that is welcoming, safe, and healthy for all our citizens who are also your beloved children. Help us together to be the good citizens and the diligent public servants that you have called us to be. We seek to do all these things for your glory and in your honor, praying in the name each one of us holds most holy, which for me is Jesus Christ, our risen Lord and Savior. Amen.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the national state flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please be seated. The determination of quorum, we have all 5 council members present. In good mood. Let's hope so. Even though one of the council members just returned after a week-long cruise, or 2 weeks after the farm, last time corrected. And he's telling me that he started driving from Dallas at 4 o'clock, and he just started. That tells you how dedicated the council members are. So maybe at the next meeting we could have him show us some slides. Anyway, the proof of notice of the meeting.
Posted at 2 p.m. on Friday, April 15th.
Thank you. And could you tell us something with Molly?
Friday, Molly felt a little sick, so she went to the doctor. They hospitalized her. She was released the next day. She is feeling 100% better, but I told her not to come to work.
That's good.
To take care of herself, to get some rest, make sure her blood pressure is stable.
She's okay.
Yes.
Okay. Please keep her in your prayers. She is a very, very valuable asset to the community and the city. All right, presentations, recognitions, and proclamations. I have 3 presentations, and I understand that the district attorney is going to present a camera. I don't know what that camera is going to do, but we want to.
Judge, Your Honor, my office has been working hard with the Family Crisis Center and the other agencies in the district to prosecute sexual assault cases and family violence cases. And one of the problems with that is that frequently the victims of family violence, because they're under the financial control of the perpetrator or family situation, that frequently they may go back to somebody who may have a problem in investigating, prosecuting those cases. So I sought and obtained a grant to give some high-end cameras to all of the agencies in the 83rd District, including the Alpine Police Department. And so I'm going to give this to Chief Scown, and we're going to have a training here at Alpine next month for all the agencies on how to make the prosecution easier in the cases where they work so hard on these domestic violence cases. We're trying to prevent that and stop the cycle of violence on domestic violence cases. So through this domestic violence grant, free camera to the city for use by the police department. No, I'll give it to.
Could be accused of
I'll give it to
installing cameras.
the Chief Scout.
This is the chief.
Yes.
Okay.
The chief is aware of it.
Yeah.
Chief is aware of it.
And I talked to him.
So you're taking it away?
I've got the box right here. I'll get a piece of
Oh,
it.
okay. I thought you were taking it back.
No.
Just for the photo option.
Okay.
That's it. No, I just want to make sure that it is for us.
It is for you, for the
So we
city.
thank you for all the good work that you have done as a city attorney and also as a district attorney.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And we thank you for the camera. Okay. And I have 3 presentations and includes a few proclamations. I'll start with the certificate of appreciation. Daddy, where are you? If you have not been to the Civic Center, you should go there and see that. This guy did a lot of work. With the encouragement from the city manager, he oversaw what was going on, organized everything, and finished that. But taking less time than it would have if we had hired a contractor. It would have cost the city, the taxpayers, a lot of money, and we're using the assistance from within the organization we have been able to finish. And I've heard quite a few good comments to that. Okay, and I want to thank you, but let me read this. Eddie Molinar, Public Works. Grateful appreciation to Eddie Molinar for his hard work and service to the city of Alpine by overseeing and assisting with the renovation of the city of Alpine Civic Center. Signed this 19th day of April 2016, Avinash Nagar, Mayor, City of Alpine, Texas. Again, congratulations. I'm very, very happy to see you. How many years? 35 years this young man has worked with. Wow. Okay, 35 years. And I hope you keep working for another 35 years. Okay, thanks. Okay. Well, that's called dedication. And the people generally tell who work for the city or who don't work for the city that it's very difficult to stay on as an employee because of the conditions which are not favorable or this or that. And here's a young man for 35 years in this work. That speaks for itself, you know. Okay, the next two are proclamations. And this is for Safe Digging Month. Proclamation, Alpine Safe Digging Month. Whereas thousands of times each year, the underground infrastructure in Texas is damaged by those who do not have underground lines located prior to digging, resulting in service interruption, environmental damage, and threat to public safety. And whereas in 2005, the Federal Communication Commission designated 811 to provide excavators and homeowners a simple number to contact utility operators to request the location of underground lines at the intended dig site. And whereas the Damage Prevention Council of Texas, a stakeholder-driven organization dedicated to the prevention of damage to underground facilities in all 254 Texas counties, promotes the National 811 notification system in an effort to reduce these damages. And whereas damage prevention is a shared responsibility by using safe digging practices, persons living and working in the city of Alpine and Brewster County can save time and money and help keep our infrastructure safe and protected. Now therefore, I, Avinash Chandra, Mayor of the City of Alpine, Texas, we hereby proclaim on behalf of the City of Alpine and the Damage Prevention Councils of Texas the month of April 2016 as Alpine Safe Digging Month, and encourage excavators and homeowners throughout the City of Alpine and Brewster County to always call 811 before digging. Safe digging is no accident, in witness whereof I do hereby set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Alpine to be affixed on this, the 19th day of April 2016. And again, I appreciate all the good work that you do and your staff does, and with the great mediation and appreciation of the Thank you very much. You want to see anything?
Always remember to call before you dig. That's the name of the game. I mean, it's a free country. You know, we get that thrown a lot, but you know, you can save. We always say that the life you're saving can be your own. There's a lot of pipe out there. You know, don't worry about the big one coming through. Don't worry about the little ones you got running through here. They're just as, you know, important and hazardous, not treated well. So, thank you very much.
We haven't had any accident last year or this year, right?
Sir?
Did we have any accident where somebody hit the line? When is the last time we had an accident like that?
It's been a while. I'll see if we've ever had it.
Way back, we don't even remember. But
We're
that's good.
always on top of it.
I remember several years ago, we used to have here and there minor incidents, you know.
Minor little things, you know, but thankfully, you know, just minor.
That's good.
We're on.
The next one is Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. Would you join me if you please?
It's good to see you again.
Okay, thank you. You want to make sure that the council gets this not under the table.
That's right.
So there is no accusation about the council accepting things which might influence your decision about certain items.
We wouldn't want to do that.
You don't want to do that. I think we have been pretty good on that. Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and impacts every person in this community, regardless of race, age, gender, or economic status. And whereas statistics show that 1 in 5 women and 1 in 20 men will be sexually assaulted at some point in their lives. 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls will experience a sexual assault before age 18. 8 out of 10 rapes are committed by someone the victim knows. 6.3 million Texans have experienced some form of sexual assault in their lifetime. And whereas in Sexual Assault Awareness Month and throughout the year, we must commit to ending sexual violence and make prevention a priority. We must recognize the rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment on our community, and that we all have a stake in preventing sexual assault, and that we all have the power to make a difference. It's time for all of us to take action to create a safer environment. We must work together to educate our community about sexual violence prevention, prevention, sexual survivors, and speak out against harmful attitudes and actions that promote sexual violence. Prevention is possible when everyone gets involved. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Avinash Ranga, join advocates and communities across the country taking action to prevent sexual violence by declaring April as Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month in Alpine. Text signed this 19th day of April 2016. Again, thank you for all the You want to say something?
I just want to say just a little bit. Most of it's covered in the proclamation. The theme this year for sexual assault, the national theme, is prevention is possible. And the idea is that if every one of us takes a stand against the ideas, the norms in our society that promote or allow sexual violence, racism, oppression, all of those things contribute to sexual violence. And if you see something going on that doesn't seem right, say something, take a stand. Individuals can help. Businesses enact policies that prevent sexual harassment in the workplace, make a safe environment. Working together, we can all make a safer community. And I love Alpine, and I've always felt like it's a safe place to be. I want it to continue. So thank you very much. I'd like to thank the council, Mayor Ranga again for supporting, helping the Family Crisis Center throughout the year. It's just not enabled, but throughout the year. And Mr. Ponton for getting the cameras. That's a great resource for our local police department to have to help prosecute offenders in a lot of cases. So thank you all very much.
Okay, 4 reports, city mayor's report. I met our state representative this morning for breakfast and talked about a few things which were not very seriously. Anyway, he's in town, and if you have to see him, talk to him and let him know what your feelings are or what your interests are. Poncho Nevares, he is our state representative. He's from People Pass, and the person who is very much interested in our community. Okay. City manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Honorable Mayor, City Council, I do have 4 main topics, and I'm glad that Mr. Eddie Molinar stayed here because he is not only a very important team member who helped us restore the Civic Center, but he is also heavily involved with what we do with the streets. And as we look at our paving schedule and materials in preparation for this year, those of you who've been out on the roads will see some of the work that our street teams are doing, the initial prep, basically cutting back branches, taking areas where we have creep of the grass into the street, clearing them off using our street sweeper. These will be the streets that will seal coat. We did have our grade 4 rock delivered, first batch of it, 1,500 tons. This year we did have to get it from Joe plant in El Paso. Normally we get it from the Hogan plant outside of Pecos. The Hogan plant has been experiencing some technical difficulties, plus getting some large orders from TxDOT. This is a crushed limestone, so when it goes down, it's going to look different. And so we certainly welcome any calls and thoughts about it. But the real thing that Hector and Eddie and team look at is the hardness of the rock. We're also going to be using some CRS2 instead of MS2. What we're looking for is kind of a quicker adhesion as we go through the seal coating. Talking to Hector this morning, first wave of seal coating, either at some point next week or the 1st of May. We do have our RFQ for the street rebuild for those 27 blocks we're targeting. Pre-quote meeting is later this week on Thursday. Quotes will be due by April 29th. I have had multiple vendors reach out to me, so we anticipate having at least 2, if not 3, bids on that. Moving forward to our electronic recycling results. Did something a little different this year. We had something great. Thought it might be a little risky. Ended up being a good selection of a week for us because we got a lot of high school kids that were needing volunteer hours and readily spent some time helping Patsy. We did collect a little over 21,000 pounds of material. Show a little image there. Huge amount of CRTs, both TV and different monitors. So those were our largest volume of items. Bulky trash and Texas Trash Off happened over the last couple of weeks as well. We picked up 15.62 tons of bulky trash, and the Texas Trash Off netted us another 2.5 tons. Here are a couple pictures of some of the youth. The top picture and the picture on the right are from the electronics recycling, and then the bottom picture is from one of our local scout troops during Texas Trash Off. So certainly a great time of year for volunteerism and getting more of our youth engaged in what happens here at the city. April 7th, I attended the Far West Texas Regional Water Planning meeting in Clint. During the meeting, we had Kathleen Jackson, who was here a couple of meetings ago. Some of you, I know, had a chance to visit with her. Also staff member Thomas Barnett. He was really there to present what's coming up as far as the regional and state water plans. They call it the 5th cycle. LPG Guyton Associates was also selected as our regional consultant at that meeting. Most important takeaway is as we as a state start working through these region and state water plans, for our group, they're expecting 2 public meetings. They've got to give 30-day notice. With me being there, also Mike Pianis, Commissioner Pianis was there. We lobbied for having one of those meetings here in Alpine. So we're working back with the COG to have that meeting here at our Civic Center in June. So I think it'll be a great opportunity for those that are interested in water to come here, and I think they're targeting June 2nd for that date. So mark that on your calendars, and we should have a good, we'll certainly advertise it heavily through the radio, through the newspaper, through our website, and would like citizens in the city and the region to attend. Moving forward into our monthly financial reporting, when we look at our general fund, very striking, very similar trajectory through middle of the year as to where we were middle of last year. We have attained 95% of our revenues on our ad valorem taxes. We're also at 55% of our revenues for our sales taxes, so certainly coming through half the year to be up 5%. We're certainly happy with that. We'll be tendering some of our quarterly payments from our enterprise funds during April, so that would be a nice boost of revenue for our general fund. Capital improvement dollars for streets, a lot of that's going to start hitting us April and May as we're buying material to support their efforts out on the roadways. And of course, there's a little graph. Water, sewer, sanitation, interesting again, not a whole lot of significant changes this year from last year. Probably biggest thing we're trying to do with this department right now is hire a utility director. Also working with some contract firms. Interesting statistic that that we see is in the state of Texas, there are 11,000 licensed positions for water and wastewater, yet there are only 9,000 citizens in the state of Texas holding licenses. So there's a 2,000 person gap. Certainly an item that we want to address at TML this year. We also need to address with TCQ. What's happening is we're all kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul. And with the 20% deficit on needed workforce for these critical jobs, it's beyond just an Alpine issue, it's a state issue. Here's our trend chart. Of course, all these were in your packets as well. Airport, a couple bigger payments we made in March. We certainly had a fuel purchase and then a $17,500 payment to match our engineering costs. We tendered that in March. The taxiway, our ramp repairs are complete. We'll tender our 10% match payment on that this month. Although in the first quarter we did an amendment to the budget to move the $40,000 into the operating fund. The operating fund is still healthy, so we're keeping that money in our investment fund where we're basically receiving interest until we need to move that over, which should be in the next month or two. On the hotel occupancy tax, looking in the detail and the fact that it was provided, our renovations for our civic center and visitor center are functionally complete. I think out of the 85,000 we budgeted between the two, we spent about 86. So we were a little bit over, but very negligible. We are targeting to do a floor seal and stain, and then removing the stage and getting a portable stage next year. We'll certainly see our quarterly revenue bump in April. Ms. Cotton from the chamber will be giving you a report here shortly on what they're seeing trending from a visitor center. But all indicators are that we had a very good Cowboy Poetry Gallery and a very good spring break. So the hoteliers, I think, are pleased with the trend in there. Let's see. Forward to our gas department. You know, if you look at our revenue line, we're certainly down from where we were last year. Part of that is we're, first half of the year we've been purchasing gas at a little lower rate. But I think more importantly, we've had a warmer winter, and that causes less gas procurement in the home. Good thing for the residents. I think we're fine from a budgetary perspective. We certainly are capable of keeping our expenses down as well. We were able to, Megan and I worked back with the auditors on straightening out that due to amount of $540,000. That was created when the dissolution of the gas company. And so it was a due to amount to the water fund that was hanging there. That amount was actually a reduction in asset value that should have been written off back in 2012. Megan's working back with Marlene and Craig on that journal entry. And certainly because our gas department in the checking account is doing well, we're looking to do that equity transfer to cover the extra streets work we're looking to do this year. And then from a quarterly investment summary, certainly in compliance with our investment strategy and in compliance on the reporting requirements related to Public Funds Investment Act. There's no major changes from last quarter, although as I shared earlier, even though we did the budget amendment to transfer those funds out into our operating fund for the airport, we're holding on collecting interest until we absolutely need those out. I think that's it.
Okay, Councilman, you have any question or comment? Yes, sir.
I have a question. The water board. So, since the city operates its water independently, what will this sort of like round side of the statewide plan? How will that impact?
All right. So, from a state planning perspective, you've got your state plan, and then your like for us, our Far West Texas Regional, and then we've got the Brewster County Groundwater Conservation District. That is primarily people are looking to go after wells and dig wells. They will tender the application through there. The local county groundwater conservation district should be working back with the Far West Texas Water Planning Group so that the plans from a regional perspective are being implemented in our county. And so I think the interest of us is purely, you look at the rural aspects in Far West Texas, all of the different communities are very well self-sustaining from a water perspective. What my concern would be is if somebody wanted to start moving water out of our area to the larger metro areas. We see, and San Antonio is far away, but we see San Antonio now as the 6th largest state in the U.S. We see this massive population growth in the state of Texas. So I think our biggest goal is to protect the sources that we have and not have any movement of water out. So working back through the local county and more importantly, the regional district who's tied in with the COG, the Council of Governments, based there in El Paso. So this was the first regional meeting I had been to. My intention is to continue to attend. They're divided up into different sections. So there's municipal, there's county, there's landowner, public type representation. But I think going there and being able to speak up and say, yes, we do want this meeting in Alpine will give a broader view to the citizens here in the city and in the immediate county so that we know how to stay involved and stay engaged and basically protect our water that we have. So,
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comment? Question? Done? Well, thank you. Okay. This includes city staff updates. We don't have any public hearings. The next item is consent agenda, which includes minutes, financial reports, department reports, board appointments. Notice to the public. The following items are of the routine and administrative nature. The council has been furnished with backgrounds and support material on each item, and/or it has been discussed at a previous meeting. All items will be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by a council member, in which event the item or items will immediately be withdrawn for individual consideration in its normal sequence after items not requiring separate discussion have been acted upon. The remaining items will be adopted by one vote. Okay. 6A, approve council minutes of March 1st, March 15, and March 29, 2016. What's the pleasure of the council?
So move that we approve the council minutes for March 1st, March 15th, and March 29th.
So second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded properly. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, nays. Ayes have it. 5-0. Number 7, information or discussion items. And I want to let the audience know that the discussion and information, the discussion is going to be among the council members. The procedure that was adopted last year in May, that only allows the council members to talk about the items. Okay. 7A, provide an update and discuss the key items of the Brewster County Central Appraisal District Board of Directors meeting on April 19, 2016. Rick Stephen is representing the city in that. Rick?
Thank you, Mayor. So the board met this morning at 11 o'clock. There were 12 items on the agenda, lasted about an hour. I'd like to just provide highlights on 4 of them. 1, the board approved the engagement letter to continue to use Gibson, Ruddick, Patterson, and LLC as our auditors. And I think the the city standpoint, using the same one, so that helps us all the way around. The second was we held the budget workshop for the next fiscal year coming up, and as a workshop didn't approve that, that will be approved and discussed further in open forum on May 23rd, which is on Monday, which will be the next regular scheduled meeting of the board. And the budget looks to be essentially the same as it is this year. I think the last one has far more interest to most everyone around, including everyone in the audience, and that is the preliminary discussion about the appraisal values for 2016, which is what all of our tax bills are based on. Last year, the net taxable value for properties in the city of Alpine was just a little over $300 million. This year, the preliminary numbers has a $25 million higher, or about 8%. And so, what the implications are when we start looking at, what that has to do for property values at the single-family residence, up about 9%. The exempt property is about 5.5%, but nonetheless, it says property values are up, and that's consistent with what the state's been telling the Alpine Independent School District, that their value sense was about 85% of what the target value should be. So the appraisal district's been doing its work. So as an individual citizen, that's the challenge on our side. The good news is, from the city's standpoint, we would expect our revenue based upon the current tax rate we have, which is 53 and 85 100ths per $100 valuation. That says we'd get an additional $134,000 for our next fiscal year. So that's where the process is. So that will come out, and the county tax board has not finalized all that yet. They're trying to get it finished. So by May 15th, they can get their documents out, and then we'll get the opportunity for citizens to go talk about whether our valuation is fair or not. That's a preliminary update. And that's all I have.
And this additional value the city will realize is not because the tax rate is going to go up, it's because of
valuation's going up. It's the valuation's the driver. Yeah, because that's why I say apples to apples, same tax rate. It's just a $25 million more valuation.
Is that new construction or is it the old?
It's mostly the valuations of where the existing homes are. Yeah, that's good.
All right. Anyone, any question or comment from the council? Thank you. Monthly update on joint city-county activities by city liaison. Councilman Julian Gonzalez.
Mayor, I wasn't able to attend the meeting. The meeting was scheduled for next week, but they went and had it this past Monday. And I was on vacation, as was my partner here. So we didn't get to meet with them. So I have no information right now.
So the partner cannot give us any information because he was on a cruise.
Well, he can tell us about the cruise.
So that has nothing to do with this. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Quarterly business center readout by Chamber Executive Director.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, we do have Ms. Kaylee Cotton here. And on your desks in front of you, I did put together the presentation that shall highlight the activities of what's going on at the visitor center for us.
Good evening. I'm Kaylee Cotton, the Executive Director for the Chamber and Visitor Center. I put together a PowerPoint presentation just to kind of go over a few of the statistics for the Visitor Center this year. For January, we had a total of 276 people walk through the door. If you'll see, most of them were, of course, from Texas. We did have 31 people out of the United States. Mail outs, emails, phone calls, brochures, all of those numbers were up from 2015. And then on the next page, our relocation. This is anybody that is coming in, asking questions, wanting to know about how to relocate to Alpine. We had 9 people walk in to ask about it. We had 3 phone calls, 14 mail outs, and 10 emails. The only events in January at that time was the Big Ben photo contest. I think that our numbers were up mostly because of we had a warm winter, and so a lot of people came out and were able to hike and things that they were not able to do last year during that time. In February, we had a total of 490. 51 of those were foreign. Again, the mail-outs through the brochures, all of those numbers were up. Relocation was down a little bit from January. We did still have some people come in. Part of the reason for our increase in February would be for the Texas Cowboy Poetry Gathering, the Soul Rock Alumni Banquet, and then we also had political rallies that brought some people in as well. In March, we had a total of 821 people come through the door. 81 were foreign. Mail-outs all the way through brochures. Our phone calls are steadily increasing every single month for people wanting information. Relocation, we have 3 walk-ins, 1 phone call, 14 mail-outs, and 13 emails. The events during that were spring break and the Sunshine House Wild West night. Spring break, we really saw an increase starting at the Texas Cowboy Poetry because of the different parts of the United States having spring break different weeks than us. It was basically all month long. We considered it to be spring break. A lot of people were concerned that our numbers would go down. Well, Alpine had their spring break. It actually increased. I think a lot of people came into town knowing that most of the locals would not be here. First quarter overview, I did a graph. Obviously, in February, I thought it was interesting that our out-of-state and in-state were very close numbered to each other. In March, we had a huge fluctuation in the numbers of the in-state. Out-of-state has stayed about the same for February and March, and then foreign, of course, has increased every single month. On the next slide, I have the 2015 to 2016 comparison. In January, that's an increase of 57.7%. February, 82.8%. And March, 34.15% increase in people coming through our door. And then on the next slide, I have the top 5 states that people have visited us from. Of course, Texas is our #1. And then it would be Minnesota, New York, Colorado, New Mexico. Most of those states, Minnesota, Colorado, New York, it was very cold at this time of year, so I think a lot of people were coming in to kind of get away from that and enjoy the nice breeze here. And then our #1 place was Canada. We had a lot of Canadians come in, and then United Kingdom, France, Australia, and Germany. I believe one day in March, we had 3 different couples from France come. So it's been very interesting for me to be able to kind of relay that information to what's going on in the community. And, you know, every day is different. We never know who's going to walk through the door. So it's been very interesting to see what brings people to Alpine. Upcoming events, we have Voices from Both Sides. I believe that will bring some people in. That is a benefit where Lahita has a crossing for the border for family members to see each other. And then May through July, we have Alpine Cowboys baseball. We do get a lot of inquiries about the baseball team. I think it's kind of a favorite pastime for some people that used to live in Alpine. They like to come back and see those baseball games. Cinco de Mayo, Drive Big Bend, and then Soul Ross will be putting on Charlotte's Web. I think that Charlotte's Web is going to be a big family event, and I do expect a lot of people to be out and about during that time. Some visitor center upcoming things that we're working on. We have come up with a scavenger hunt. We're going to call it Discover Local Grown, and we are working with Go Texan. I've been in contact with Rob, and he is giving me a list of everybody that he does business with that are growing locally, own things, or have anything to do with local grown. We have a pamphlet that has, you open it up, it has a map of Presidio, Jeff Davis, Brewster, everything like that, and I will give a stamp to the businesses that want to participate, and our visitors who come in will have a chance to go to those businesses. Whoever has the most stamps at the end of the summer, we're going to give them we're going to call it a locally grown basket, and have items from those different companies give us, donate the items so that we can give those away to the winners. So it's just something to get the people out and about. Our Alpine walk and drive tour is probably our #1 thing that people want whenever they come into our office, as well as information about the event. We're working to improve survey participation. I know that Brewster County Tourism Council got an iPad where they're doing some surveys and things. We would like to get involved in that. One of our biggest things is that when people come to the visitor center, they don't want to sit down and fill out a piece of paper with us asking them why they're here. It's a lot of come and go conversation. They want to get out and about and be able to participate in what the city has to offer. So I really think if we had the iPad with the app, it would be a quick survey participation that we could get better statistics on why they're in the area. I have bought t-shirts. I started out with a small number. I did 150 and I only have 20 left. And I purchased those 2 months ago. So we're doing very well on t-shirts. We have also have the shot glasses that have sold. We sell probably 5 to 10 a month. So not a huge sell, but it still helps. And I'm also looking into doing hats and koozies. We looked at doing some postcards. The issue with that is getting a lot of the photographers to release their photos so that we can have them. And we have to be able to make money off of it. And so we're working on that as well. But as of right now, that's on hold. We're just going to do the hats and koozies, shot glasses, and the t-shirts. Before the t-shirts were just hanging up on the wall, I was able to come across a display case where we were able to put out bumper stickers and the shot glasses and things like that. And I've noticed a huge increase just this month on things selling. So I think the display was important. I will be trying to work closely with Eric on the profit and loss statements for the visitor center. I think that it's important that we all are on the same page financially, and that way we know where the money is going, what is our number one expense, but as well as our profit. And so that's something that we're going to be working on. And then we are also working on updating our monthly event calendar. The system that we have right now is not necessarily user-friendly for me. We've had some technical issues. So I've been working with Chris Regia, and he's going to help us out on that to try to get a better, more user-friendly events calendar so that we can offer it to the public a little bit more. That's all I have.
Well, thank you. Okay, Council, you have any questions or comments?
That's your work.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
So we need more visitors to go to town to spend some money. You know, and, the other day I was having coffee and B&B, this couple walked in and they said, "You're the mayor?" I said, "Yes, last I heard of." And well, they were wandering around and wanted to know something about Alpine, and they talked to some people on the street. I said, "Well, mayor is having coffee over there, go and talk to him." So we talked for about 30, 40 minutes. And they were from Virginia and looking for a second home, for a place to have a second home. They have all over in this area and they like this. They're not thinking about retiring, that's what they're saying. They're not thinking about retiring right now, but in the near future, when they do, they want to come and buy a house in Alpine. And that's the kind of thing we do so well. So when you see people wandering around, help them find places they want to go and engage them in conversation. That helps a lot. Okay. Thank you again. Quarterly EMS readout with West Texas families.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, we do have Mr. Mike Scudder here this evening. I don't want to say changing things up, but he got the report to you ahead of time. He's just going to kind of scan through the highlights for you this evening. And then in relation to fire, we're going to be doing a fire hydrant update on May 3rd. So tonight is just specifically about the EMS. Okay?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council member. For the first quarter of 2016, January 1st to March 31st, the total number of runs we had for the city, county, and for Marathon were 148 calls. On the breakdown, you can see the majority, of course, for the city calls. One of the items that does stand out is, again, the number of city no transports. We get a lot of those. We had 38 calls that were just no transport related, whether they were good intent. Somebody called because somebody fell and then they didn't want to go to the hospital, or somebody that or regulars at this call. So we have a lot of those. On the breakdown of calls, they're about the same, anywhere from 40 to 60. Every month is, just depends a lot, weather, whether it's slow or not. April is generally like a slow month, and of course summer coming up, some of it's going to be a little bit slower. Let's see. On our on the payer breakdown, again, for the city calls, the majority are Medicare patients, and second are the insurance, and then we had a lot of self-paid patients that had no assistance, and we had 2 indigent patients. On the air transports that we did, we had a total of 45 for the quarter. Down from last quarter, we had 66 air transfers. Seems like they're all around 14. It's averaging about 15 each month now. On the payer status on those, about the same. A lot of the other Medicare patients, and then insurance, and next is the self-pays. Let's see. Okay, on the breakdown on the status, resident status for the air transports, this time we had 22 that were city county residents and 23 non-city county residents, so 49%, 51%. So half and half this time. And on the number of billable patients out of the, and this is the total inclusive of this from the 193, which includes city, county, Marathon, and the air transports. Of that, 152 are billable patients, with the 40 that are not. That's all I have.
Thank you, Scott. Constable, do you have any questions or comments to make? Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, orderly municipal court readout with Judge E. Crook.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, Judge E. Crook is here. She's had a couple battles of health herself. I think we're all going through that, but she's here and doing a great job, and we appreciate her being here for the quarterly report.
Does not mean that she's all good, does it?
Well, we're trying not to overlook her. She's got everything caught up there, so.
Thank you, Judge. Go ahead.
Thank you, council. It occurred to me after learning so much from listening to Mr. Scudder's reports when we give them at the same meeting each time that there are a number of details about the court that are not generally appreciated. That the work includes, there's beyond the visual of the courtroom between 9 to 5 and certain formality of process, and you can all appreciate in that picture that we have justice issues that are occurring and being revealed before our very eyes. But there is another part of the criminal justice system that occurs within the nurturing of the municipal court. And for instance, in my experience, this happens more often at about between 2 and 4 in the morning, at which point there's a telephone call, and these incredibly polite young people say, Judge, we need you to, and then it's some kind of a warrant, usually, or a magistration that's needed. And those are actually, in many ways, the most interesting legal issues that you come on. Sometimes you wish it weren't at 2:30 in the morning or whatever, but it's really important to all of us, I think, that these little things occur. The magistrate's job is to often get things, issues ready to go in the criminal justice system so that they are working fairly and under the rule of law. Now, I used the word magistrate, I think, a few times here. When you're a judge at any level in the
for instance, in Brewster County, and this is true throughout Texas and in most places, you're also a magistrate. So that means in this county, there are 4 magistrates. Now, no one is going to, a municipal judge is clearly at the lower level in terms of class C misdemeanors are the only thing in our jurisdiction. And then we have a JP, Justice of the Peace, we have a county court and a district court. And the severity of the offenses dealt with in each of these courts increases to the district court. But in terms of magistration and magistrate powers, all of those judges are equal. And that's because the issues are so important. They have to do with the, for instance, if the officers, what I most frequently see is 1 or 2 officers will come with clear enthusiasm. They've spent a lot of time working on a case, investigating, and they've got it. You know, they've got all the elements in a row. They know they have all their evidence lined up, and they have their warrant. And they have, and they found the person that they're hoping to arrest. Well, no matter the enthusiasm and no matter how fair or just the officers might be, there's a check and balance system throughout our government and our criminal justice system that makes sure that simple enthusiasm cannot get somebody arrested, or that it should not. And so before the arrest warrant can be issued, the probable cause warrant, or the affidavit of probable cause, has to be signed off on by a magistrate. And there's 4 of them. You got to find one of them before you can sign, before it can be signed. And after it's signed, it has to be returned. There's a search warrant. The most usual kind of search warrant would be, in my experience anyway, in Alpine, would be what's called a blood warrant. The legislature has provided for case of someone is arrested for driving under the influence of whatever, and they don't want to be tested for alcohol blood levels, they can refuse. However, if there is probable cause to think that the person is under the influence of, say, alcohol to a degree that makes it unsafe for them or other people, then you can have a search warrant, and the officer can write up a search warrant that would require a blood sample to be given by the person who was arrested, and then that would become evidence in any future transaction in the criminal justice system. Well, again, this is not something that any of us would want to just happen because the officer thought the person that they arrested was, maybe their speech was slurred, or there's this absolutely amazing list of adjectives describing the person who was stopped. And you could write whole novels just circling, 20 of these. But the officers go through these lists, and not only that, they have a series of tests they execute. And even after they have completed a 6-page warrant of probable cause, it still has to be signed. Somebody has to read it and decide that in a reasonable person's world, this is sufficient fact to find it reasonable that in balancing that individual's rights and the public's rights, that the person be tested for alcohol content in the blood. So that's another kind of warrant that the magistrate signs. And it's often at a time limit at a time somewhat after when the bars close. So this is early in the morning. But there are the misdemeanors. There are family violence cases. That family violence was dealt with earlier this evening here, and it remains an important part of any community's life, and unfortunately. But the officers, again, they will go and assess the situation when they're called. And I'm sure that we have all heard stories of different ways the situation could be assessed, whether she started it or he started it or they both did it together, but somebody's getting hurt and they need to be stopped. The officer's job is to make some sort of assessment that, according to each officer, will make the situation better. In their mind, they're really anxious to help people. Their vision of what might be the most just or most orderly way to stop this family violence situation may not agree with everyone else in our community, but they have to make a case that there was an offense committed, that there was the elements of the offense are all within that warrant, and then again, a magistrate has to read it and find it credible, find it to have sufficient weight to offset the rights of the people who are having their lives interfered with, which is certainly what's happening if anyone is taken to jail. Now, what you might not expect is if you have a municipal court magistrate, we only have jurisdiction over Class C misdemeanors, but as a magistrate, we would be signing off on both warrants and doing magistrations for felonies as well. Class B, Class A misdemeanors, and state jail felonies, they're second, first class. And that's because the issues are similar at every level. I mean, Class C misdemeanors do not often include they do not include the degree of damage in terms of money damage. They do not include the degree of human damage that say a first-class felony would. But the issues of law, the rule of law, are the same in all of those cases. And so you have to be sure that, for instance, when the person is magistrated, that is, they've been arrested, they're brought before a magistrate within 48 hours to be, and I think from watching movies or television, you've all seen the reading of rights, but some of these details that magistrates do all the time don't appear to be good elements in a plot line, or they're hard to capture, or they're hard to make a plot pivot on, and so that you just don't see them. And part of that is when you read the person their rights. One of those rights is if the offense is one that risks incarceration on the part of the defendant, and only if, then they have a right to an appointed attorney. So if they're going to have an appointed attorney, they have to have an affidavit of indigency, because that's the way the law works. And that has to be sworn to. Now, sometimes we go to notaries, and a notary has either been a notary for so long they're a tad jaded, or they didn't, for whatever reason, they don't actually ask you to raise your hand and swear that this is a true and accurate statement. Well, you can't let details like that go if you're a magistrate, because this person has rights, and they have to have them observed at every single step. And if you have a flawed step anywhere, then you have flawed justice. And I've never seen a a TV program where the case was thrown out because they didn't actually swear the person in correctly, but it can happen and it has happened. So it's that degree of detail that ensures all of us a due process that means something. The setting of bail is another part of what the magistrate does. And that one, there's probably more stories about out in public and more opinions as to whether X was correct or an incorrect setting of bail. It's a balance, and the statutory guidelines are not what you would call bright line law. They are it's a balance between, is the person going to show up for the trial and whether the community is safe with them out. So you have to read an NCIC report, which is also known as a rap sheet. It's a federal, national level accumulation of data, criminal justice data, that can be printed out by the police. So I ask for an NCIC report before I set anybody's bail. They generally go back to when the person was quite young. And so you have a lot of factors to judge whether they ought to count at this point. But if you're looking at whether if the person has 4 failures to appear, and they didn't appear on other occasions, this is not a positive in terms of a low bail. On the other hand, there is no reason that for a first-degree felony, which is a pretty serious, the most serious kind of felony, there's no reason you have to set bail if you know the person's going to show up, if you have adequate evidence. Bail is not a punitive matter, it's a matter of making sure the community's safe. If the offense was egregious, but still it didn't show the sign of hurting somebody or hurting property, then, and you know that the person has lived in this community for 50 years and every connection in their life is here, you don't have to charge them bail to maintain their freedom. So that's why I'm describing this as perhaps having more interesting legal issues in doing magistration work than in a courtroom frequently. I think I've used up my time at least. If any of you are interested in how this works, I'd be glad to talk with you individually, because I find it a really a fascinating area of how the little bitty details are what keep our system working and keep us with the degree of personal freedom that we have. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Judge. Anybody has any questions? It was highly informative and I enjoyed it. Seriously. Thank you. We need to have how the system works. So, okay. And thank you again, Judge. Next one is discuss 2015-2016 Auditor's Report submitted to the City Council and accepted by the City Council on March 29, 2016. Council Auditors findings and response. Councilor Gonzalez.
Mayor, I'd like to cancel or table item F because the City Council has already accepted the auditor's report.
All right. Any question? Normally I have to ask that. Any question or comment when it comes? None? Okay. Action items to be accompanied by a brief statement of facts, including where funds are coming from, if applicable. Action items limited to up to 10 per meeting. Citizens are allowed to comment, limited to 3 minutes after being called upon by mayor or mayor pro tem. Citizens are required to state the name and the ward in which they reside. Priority will be given to citizens of Alpine and those who own businesses or property in the city. Individuals who do not live in or own businesses or property in the city limits of Alpine will be allowed to speak if there is time available. These are all action items. Number 8, discuss and consider taking action on SEP recommendation from city manager on TCEQ enforcement order, docket number 2016-0317-MWD-E, enforcement case number 51940. Mr. Zimmer.
Mr. Honorable Mayor, City Council. Back in February, I think the mayor had shared a copy of the letter that came in regarding 2 months of successive high POD levels from our plant. TCEQ, as we can well appreciate, has a certain fine structure, and I've included in your packet the worksheet that shows the fine structure. With TCEQ, we have basically 2 options. One is to accept the fine, pay the fine, or the second will be to petition for a supplemental environmental project, which valuation of that project needs to meet or exceed the level of the fine. One of the big elements that kind of dates back to when Mr. River Clark was here as the interim utilities director. He and I had talked about the need to move from a manual bar screen to a mechanized bar screen. So I included just some basic information in your packets about the differences between the mechanical versus the manual. The mechanized is important for us because what we're seeing coming into the plant is a lot of debris, a heavy amount of grease, a heavy amount of grit. And the way our plant is currently designed, we don't have as aggressive filtration points from our aeration to our clarifiers. And really that missing link is, as Mr. Clark had identified, Lawrence and I spoke about as well, is this issue around implementing a mechanized bar screen. So a mechanized bar screen to implement it would be somewhere between 50 and 175,000. My senses will be closer to the 50,000 range, 50, 60,000. What we want to do, what I'm recommending on this SEP application is to go ahead and authorize me to submit the application. And I provided a hand draft of that in your packet. And we're specifically petitioning to install the mechanized bar screen. Although the cost is going to well exceed the $3,300, we don't have any low-hanging fruit out there that we can go do that's $6,000 or $8,000. And we certainly believe from a plant perspective that this is a critical element that will not only improve the initial performance of the water that's coming into the plant, but then certainly provide us with a better opportunity to have better water as we prepare to release it, which would impact our BODs. I know that's kind of a long situation, long discussion, but I wanted to try to share as much of the background information in your packets as well. We've also introduced a new agent back into the plant. It's called BEF, B-E-F. It's bacteria enzyme. It's an organic material. City of Alpine was using it for quite some time until about 3 years ago. All of a sudden stopped using it. In our region, only one other plant does not use it. So everybody else around us is using it. So we've reintroduced that. That's designed to really start eating away at the grease that comes in. Probably one of our #1 issues in the city of Alpine is that too many people throw grease down drains. Too many restaurants aren't managing their grease traps appropriately. And it really impacts us. And what happens when that grease gets introduced is it starts killing off bacteria that we have in there. So we're trying to reintroduce more and more to make that plant healthy. So a mechanized bar screen obviously would help cull some of that early on in the plant. So anyhow, I'm certainly glad to answer any questions. As far as anticipating when TCQ would approve this SEP application, my sense would be somewhere between 60 and 180 days. So we would be probably looking at next year's budget cycle and budgeting for that. Certainly, if we got to go ahead earlier, we would have to look at a budget amendment, but our operating fund on the water side is sitting a little over $1 million right now. So we certainly would have the latitude to do a budget amendment, pay for it in cash.
Okay, Councilman, this is pretty straightforward. I think we don't have any choice, so I will ask permission today for discussion.
I move that we take action and recommend that the city manager apply for the SEP rather than pay the fine.
Okay. It doesn't say fine, so let me read it. I'm sorry, I couldn't find that. But I need to have a motion. Anybody want a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, second. And if you want to make changes, let me know, okay? So that I'm gonna discuss and consider taking action on SEP recommendation from city manager on TCQ enforcement order, docket number 2016-0317-MWD-E enforcement case number 51940. For those who are going to find it odd, I read the first time the presiding officer read the item to let the public know what it's all about. Then, before we take action, item has to be by council member introduced in the form of a motion and second, and then once I read it, then it becomes official. Now, if there's any amendment, then that has to be voted on separately. Okay. So now you go for discuss.
Yeah, my take on this, we've had this happen a couple of months. You're saying the manual isn't adequate. Seems to me we're going to keep having this happen. So if we've got the money, why don't we fix it the way it should be done? Right? So if it's not working now, what makes us think it's going to work 6 months from now too? You get another fine. No, I was just thinking of giving my opinion. I think it's.
I noticed that this letter is dated March 24th, and on there it says that we have 30 days to apply for an SEP. We're getting mighty close to the end of the time period. Is this going to?
This application will be submitted tomorrow. If council approves the submission of the application, we would submit it tomorrow.
I also understand, and I'm not trying to correct Fitz here, but he said instead of the fine, I think that's something that they decide whether they're going to accept the SEP. They could say no, and then you still have to pay the fine. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct. Okay.
Yeah, that's true. Any other comment? None? Okay. From the public. Yes, sir. If you please come over here and tell the council your name, your ward, and
Joseph Goldman from Ward 1. What was the fine about? And when did it take place? And why wasn't it acted on before?
okay. Make any comment?
We had, as I explained earlier, we had 2 successive readings with our BODs that were below TCQ notify us, and then this is just normal course of action.
Sometimes what happens is, from my experience as a council member also years ago, that when there's an infraction, have the report, it takes the time to contact the city. Okay. Now dated 20, I'm connected to that side. This letter is dated 24th. They did it. When they mailed it to us, when I get it, as soon as I get it, I give it to the city manager. So there's a kind of time lag. Okay. So it's not something on the part of the city. Drag this. When they come, these guys, the inspector, look at the item, look at getting any infraction, go back to the office and do whatever they want to do, but then take the sweet time. I've seen this happen in South Street. So, okay, if there's no comment, any other comment from the audience? Okay, coming back to the council. Any further comment that you want to make before I ask for it?
In support of what you said, I've always been a believer that the first rule of the bureaucracy is to maintain the bureaucracy. That's why it's taken longer.
That is
Yeah.
okay, Councilman. Time to vote. Motion has been made and second, and hearing no further discussion. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nays. Ayes have it, 5-0. Discuss, number 9, discuss and consider approval of the first reading of traffic ordinance 2016-04-01 regarding intersection at 5th Street and Murphy plus adjacent parkways. Cynthia Salas and Eric Zimmer, who wants to talk to you?
I can go ahead and
Yep.
cover it. I'm concerned about the traffic on this intersection of Fifth and Murphy. Our city streets are not wide enough to have parking on both sides and have a set of 2 cars going and coming at the same time. So that was why I have put this on here. I have recommended, and we visited with Chief Scout, and letters were sent out. We did a survey on it, and we didn't get much of a response. So I have put it on here because I want it to be a no parking. I've seen cars parked all the way up to the bars of that railroad track that have come down and hit the grill of a car because of functions that are sitting there. So I would like to see this reading go through so that we can do no parking and make it safer for the traffic and our pedestrians.
Okay. I think again it's cut and dry. I want to have motion.
I move that we approve the first reading of traffic ordinance 2016-0401 regarding intersections at 5th Street and Murphy.
Second? Motion has been made and second to approve the first reading of traffic ordinance 2016-04-01 regarding intersection at 5th Street and Murphy plus adjacent parkways. Discussion. Councilman, yes.
So I understand the safety issue. I guess it's not clear to me that both sides of Murphy need to have no parking. Because when you go out and do the measurements from what's required for a traffic lane, taking out one of those sides of parking would certainly make sense and make it passable. But I struggle with having both sides as being no parking. So that's my perspective. I will not support the proposal as written.
Okay, any other discussion?
Coming on the 5th Street, I know sometimes getting out of Mass, coming down 5th Street, it can be a real nightmare. I don't travel with 5th Street to the church and back. It can really get congested.
I also noticed that there's a trailer there. It's been removed, I know, but what the person has done is close the fence there, so they no longer have a parking area leading to their house. They've actually fenced it closed there, where that trailer is. So they're actually parking in the street. So I suggest that they open that back up and let them use their parking spot, their property instead of, and I'm inclined to agree with only doing one side as far as no parking. And I think it'd still be enough room for people to be able to drive through there.
Which side you want to?
I think the side that would be the west side and
West side, no parking?
no parking.
Is that what you would have? How do you do the west side? Okay.
That's the one over by the Ritchie Hotel.
No.
No, it's the other side.
Oh,
Yes,
oh, the west side,
that's-
by Ross.
that's- Yeah, okay, would you accept that change? That's what the two council members recommended. It's up to you since you're the chair.
Well, I guess we can really look at this.
Is that just on the south side of Murphy? What about the north side of Murphy? Because there's three no parking areas, both sides of the street on the south side, and then the east side on the north side of Murphy. I would say that in talking to Chief Scanoff, along the Raspa, so on the west side, is the most critical of them all, because your traffic that comes and stops at the stop sign there cannot see up the hill when there's a vehicle parked there. So certainly, if we ranked all three of them, what was the highest priority? That one would be ranked one. Probably across from that would be number two, and then on the north side would be number three. So then it just becomes the pleasure of the council as to which of those up to inclusive of three.
The way I understand, you two in favor of having no parking on the west side.
On the west side, it's gonna be the west and south of Murphy, because on the west side, north of Murphy, essentially there is no parking anyway, because it's driveway, park spot. So that falls up with Erica's suggestion, the east side of the street, leave that for people to park wherever they want. And that way, it provides enough distance and ensures the safety, and it takes care of the concern of the stop sign.
I still would like to see a no parking in front of, on the east side, as soon as we cross the tracks against that business. There's no way that you, at Pringle, there's no way that you can park in front of that business and then have another car come up and come across right by the railroad track.
So you're suggesting the west side, which is the east side of Raspa, right next to Raspa, right? And then you're suggesting by Printco, there'll be no parking.
In front of the business.
Is that acceptable to everybody? Is that?
I just can't see a car parked in front of that curb of Pringle and then have another car parked if there's a train coming in or it has come to the crossing and then the bars come up and you've got, again, three cars trying to move, or two cars moving, coming and going in one part, right in that area.
Well, there's an empty lot across the street from Printco on this side.
They can park in
Yeah, they can park this. I think that makes sense. I mean, if you guys decide among yourself to make that change.
Well, if you're talking about La Raspa, if I may intervene, if you created an area where there is no parking to the corner so that you can see a car coming, I would agree to that, but I don't think we should do all of that. I think we should do all of that street on the west side, going south from La Vaspa back, which is west. I think you agreed to. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, I was looking for no parking on the east side. I mean, no parking on the west side, but parking on the east side.
No parking for gospel.
Right. And then that'd be the only side.
The only concern I have is that, there is supposed to be a business behind La Vaspa, and whoever comes there doesn't have a place to park on that side.
So I think everybody agrees not to have any parking, but that's right.
No parking before?
But that's what's first.
West side.
On Fifth Street.
I'm okay with
Yes, so
that.
everybody agrees on
So
that.
far, we're good on that. Yes.
So next question is principal. And Councilman Cynthia says there should not be any parking there, but principal, right?
Right, because if you come and you park up against that curb, and then there's another car that's parking or trying to get through, and then there's another car coming up the hill, right in that intersection, you're gonna have, it's gonna be rough congested.
But there's no parking on the west side
Of that lot.
of the parking, because it's a driveway lot there. That's what I do. So you get plenty of room for 3 cars there.
It's basically all open there, so they can turn into that part.
You're recommending that the cars going up the hill get on the dirt and be able to get around.
You know, there is on the asphalt. I want to measure it. There's plenty of space for going easily for our park, and then plus plenty of space. You could run 3 cars there. We're talking about just 2.
And like I said, prior to that, there was a function and there was a van that was parked up against that curb in front of Springfield. The bars came down and it hit the grill of that car
Sounds like that.
because they parked real close. Yeah.
We're gonna make a rule for one car that's parked illegally. I mean, if you
I'm just concerned about safety.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe the alternative, Cynthia, is to make sure there's a bar there that says no parking for this for the to where the bar comes down. That will solve that issue. Right?
maybe.
That might be where to start.
We can start with that and maybe change later on if we find that it's going to be.
Well, then we go back to another reading.
No, go ahead. I mean, I'm trying to find a happy solution, so that like 2 people against and 3 for, or I don't know how you guys are going to put it, but the way 3 people are not saying anything, so I shouldn't even make the statement, but 2 are obviously, and 1 suggestion. So we should.
I mean, I would be willing to compromise on the loss of side, but I'm still concerned about parking in front of Springfield. And we can table this if you'd like and reevaluate the situation.
But you're basically talking about the last 10 feet before you get to the arm that comes down. Is that correct? Why don't we just put a sign that says no parking between there and this?
That's what she said.
I mean, I don't think it's gonna happen. I mean, I've seen people at Family Dollar aren't even parking spots and they park close to the door. I mean, people just do what they want.
And they should pay the consequences.
Right. Oh, I agree.
The way I see it, all of you agree that there should be, people can park their issues, right? Okay, that's the other question. And then you agree also by that's for correct parking, right? So another question is about principal.
Springfield has parking on
Yeah.
on the.
So if we have no parking over there, then we have to concern if they agree to that. So, I think that is, I agree with the council saying that it is common, the users of the cars park and then driving up and down sometimes.
I've tried that all the time, and the only place I find it precarious is actually closer to the church, 1 more block further up than.
But I think you
Hello.
cannot put a no parking in front of the residential. Is that correct?
You could, you would, I'm sure if faced a lot of resistance from the landlocked owners who don't have off-street parking.
Get feedback then.
They have parking, but they've closed it to create more yard.
You're correct.
So, you know, I don't see a problem with putting the sign there that says no parking. But
The action that the council took last fall with updating the ordinances did allow us to ticket and finally remove that trailer that was parked there. So the ordinance language, and I know that was part of concern of this thoroughfare, but the ordinance language the council did approve last fall allowed us to ticket and have them move that. So.
And we didn't get any feedback except one, I think, from the resident. There was no feedback once all the paperwork was sent out.
That's what the council comes in, and the vice people have to make a decision. Because there is no feedback from anybody else. And so I see just please. Okay. I see everybody. Okay. I see everybody. First I want to give the council. And I don't want the council to say, gee, I didn't get to sit. No, I don't want to do that. I took a vow not to use, that's why I was sitting over there, over Robert's to the bar. I cannot stop by saying using my wrong voice. It's not good. Okay. No, just that.
I'm concerned about the railroad crossing that Councilor Salas brought up. There are no regulations prohibiting parking within a certain distance of a railroad crossing.
There is 150 meters.
So
Permanent parking.
anyone damaged by the cars coming down is parking illegally within.
Right.
Perhaps we could post a sign saying parking not permitted within 50 feet of this railroad crossing to remind people. And then keep the no parking just on one side of the street.
Because you don't want that parking.
I feel like you can park on either side.
Not all the way to the railroad, but I don't have a problem with putting a sign, say 25 feet from where the arm comes down, so you don't have people parking.
So you want to have parking by sprinkler? Yes. And then I'll get to the audience. Okay. And because I want to move forward. And
I support parking by Brinko. I also support putting a sign that says no parking, before here, or close to the road.
Yes,
I think that's a reasonable compromise. Still allows them to have parking there, but if you park past that no parking sign, you're on.
Is that the workable?
As far as no parking, yeah, I could certainly do that. With whatever distance from that railroad that council wants.
All right, I'm going to go to the audience now. I will come back to the council again. Okay, comments from the audience? Yes, sir. Please state your name and the ward.
Carl Fleming, Ward 5. It would appear to me that there's times when congestion is very bad there, particularly farmers market on Saturday mornings. That's usually probably where that person was parked there. And I would suggest maybe have the police take a run by the farmers market every once in a while to get those kind of things taken care of, cited. And it sounds like your Fifth Street all the way up to the church from almost Holland ought to have no parking on one side, because apparently that's on Sundays, Saturdays, probably even during the week. And that could take care of most of your problems, I would think. I don't know about Ross. But the farmers market is probably the biggest cause of bringing a lot of people in at a particular time because of congestion.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Okay, and just come up, please. state your name and the ward, please.
I'm Betsy Sparga, and I live in Ward 1, but I own Franco. I don't have a problem if we want to go back some footage from the railroad crossing, but right out in front of our building, we moved there partly for parking. And we have a contract with FedEx where they're supposed to be able to come right up to the front and be able to roll right out of that sidewalk, out of that door with big packages. And we're supposed to have it available for customers as well. So we need that right out in front. And we're under contract to have it at this point. But if you want to take 20 feet or 25 feet back and say no parking, that's fine with me, but we need the front.
But that is for a few minutes only, right? People don't park there.
Right, the FedEx guys would come and they'll be there for 5 minutes.
So that's a.
Or if somebody is bringing a large package, they would be there for a few minutes.
That should be acceptable. I used to some transit just like the FedEx or USPC or whatever. They come in to deliver the item and you know, that is not permanent parking. You have sort of setup.
Would you, one thing to consider would be, councilman want to consider a short-term parking, like no longer than 15 minutes along that area there, then that might satiate the needs of Printco. But you're not going to have people just parking out there for long periods of time.
Which you actually don't now. People are in and out.
And that might be a workable solution that everybody likes.
Is that acceptable if you put a sign over there?
Yeah.
15 minutes parking. Is that acceptable? Virtually? Is that acceptable?
Okay. Still have to sign up in front of the
Yeah.
railway station. Still do that.
Come back 25 feet.
That's good.
And then just FYI, the Roscoe's getting ready to move their business out of that location as well. So hopefully that'll minimize it. But again, when you have Cinco de Mayo, when you have farmers market, when you have church, church, it is.
Well, then you may have some other business take over.
Right.
I would hope, yeah, the rest of maybe movie, but I hope certainly as a member of the Murphy Street community that somebody's moving in very, very soon.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Hello. I think I'm in Ward 5. Recently, Murphy Street business owner. We did a general consensus, and I actually did submit my beautifully worded, I took a lot of time submitting my opinions, and I know Thomas Stephen Curry did, and I know neighbor Nancy Davila did, so somewhere, I really appreciate the opportunity to have some feedback, but everybody's on the same page. We all were like, Roscoe, there's lots and lots of kids coming out, so yes, there should not be any parking there, because they dart out, they'll run to the farmer's market, they run over to Roscoe, their parents at the farmer's market. I think it's really important for us to have a visual, free, no parking zone on the west side. On the east side, the general consensus on Murphy Street, just from there's a lot of traffic there during lunch. I mean, that place is chock-a-block. It's only going to get more busy, in my opinion. So the east side, the general consensus with business owners was leave it alone until you have to change it, and you can always change it. But start with less and add later was kind of our consensus. Pringo, not a big deal for us, but I understand the concerns with that. And when there are downtown things, people do come to Murphy Street to park, so there is going to be more pressure. And ultimately, there may need to be a four-way stop there because cars really do whiz up and down there when we're a lot of kids. So, maybe something you might want to consider. So, yeah, that's my choice. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Any other comment from the audience? Okay, so we're going to make some changes, and that will mean that we have to bring it back. Good. So you want to table it?
Let's table it.
I need a motion.
I move that table item 9 on the traffic ordinance 2016-04-01. Intersections on 5th and Murphy.
Okay. Well, so the motion now is to table this item 9. So Well, approve the first reading with traffic ordinance 2016-04-1 regarding intersection at Fifth Street and Murphy with adjacent parkways. Take care of these additional congestion that we have to do there. Having no parking on the west side, by Vesta, and have 15-minute parking from Typical.
So we will work with Councilor Salas on that, get visuals back to council.
So, thank you. Good compromise. Okay, so Councilman, you understand the motion? Okay. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nays? Okay. The motion passes 5-0. Fifth, second, at the same two guys. Cynthia made the motion and the fifth second. I'm glad you asked. Well, that's good. I mean, I did that on the too.
Well, we're not as good as Molly.
No, we're trying. You're doing, Megan, you're doing a good job. Don't let it. I'm kidding you. As far as the word intimidation is concerned, okay? You're doing good. All right, numbers 10. Discuss and consider authorizing city manager to accept West Texas HIDTA High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Grant Award G16SW0009 for the Alpine Police Department in support of Alpine Multi-Agency Task Force Initiative. Mr. Zimmer.
Honorable Mayor, City Council. Several meetings back, I discussed the roles of our officer working with HIDTA. And of course, every year we get grant monies to support that program. I've supplied packets, all the background. The granting agency does require the council give an affirmative that the city is willing to accept those dollars. So this is your opportunity to say yes, that we will accept those dollars.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I move that we authorize the city manager to accept the West Texas HIDTA grant for $125,470 for the Alpine Police Department for the Alpine Multi-Agency Task Force.
I second. Okay. But don't you have the 25,000, but the rest?
That is the number of guys.
I'm going to let Megan do there. Megan, would you please?
So Rick moved to have the city manager accept the West Texas HIDTA High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Grant Award for the Alpine Police Department in the amount of $125,000.
125,470.
470.
So that's why I wanted Megan to read it. Okay. I need a second.
Oh, no, Councilor Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. The motion has been made and second. Any discussion? Yes.
Councilor Gonzalez likes to say that's appropriate.
The drugs, word drug issue. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any further comments made? Any further comments made? No? Okay. From the audience? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion to authorize city manager to accept West Texas HIDTA grant, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nays? Ayes have it, 5-0. Number 11. Discuss and consider first reading of Animal Ordinance 2015-11-01, amending Chapter 10 of the Code of Ordinances, Animals, Article 1 and Article 2. Councilman Entrum.
The Animal Advisory Board met and held an open meeting to discuss these changes. There was no input from the public, unfortunately.
The changes involve noise pollution caused by barking dogs. Can't really include meowing cats in that, but howling cats will work. And provisions for shelter for animals that are kept outside. Again, this would be dogs, as well as provisions for microchipping animals. If an animal is brought into the shelter and does not have a microchip, before the owners will be able to pick them up, they will have to have the animal microchip. And that there are also provisions for feeding of feral cats. If you are going to feed feral cats, then you become responsible for them, and they will need to also be vaccinated, neutered, and microchipped. Now, this is an effort to cut down on encouraging feral cats and dogs running loose and barking excessively, disturbing people and endangering people.
And being chained up.
Yeah, there are regulations for how you can chain an animal and limit to the amount of time that you can have your dog chained outside. And this is for the safety and protection of the animals.
Any questions? Yes, good. Was there also a number of animals too?
Yeah, yes. 3 dogs, 3 cats, 3 reptiles. Not to total more than 6 individual pets. So a limit of 6.
Any other question or comment? Yes.
I have one problem with the reptiles. I have a constituent who is in graduate school at the university, and his specialty is herpetology. He has snakes. I've been to this guy's house. He's safe. He's certified and all that too. If we restrict him to 3, but he's a scientist. I mean, it's not like some guy just goes out there and collects rattlesnakes. You know? But he had at one time one of the largest poisonous snake collections in the country. He was professional, and that's a little bit worrisome. He brought that to my attention too.
I don't see a problem really there. If this is for his work as a scientist, and that what we're addressing is pets.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's fine. Because I know there is a thing in there that says that they can get a permit to exceed this if it seems that it's valid. I just wanted to protect working with Brett Welch, because I know he's, like I said, I've been there with Dr. Terry and to his house several times. They're very safe. They're all caged up.
I would certainly encourage him to notify the police department that he has these on his property and animal control, just so that they're aware of potential.
He's guided in his research by Dr. Terry. And so I'm sure Dr. Terry would overlook something like that.
This is to address pets.
Yeah, just pets.
Is that a part of the ordinance that it's only for pets, not for animals like reptiles or research purposes?
Well, it specifies pets.
They have to be microchipped, the snakes.
Okay, any other questions? Comments?
Go do that.
Not me.
Okay, Rick, go ahead.
Nancy, I know there's an addition added here on page 179 has to do with no person showing an animal in the shelter except when an animal services officer is available to accept the animal.
Yes.
I completely understand that. My worry though is it would discourage some people from picking up pets if they have no place to take them. And so has the board talked about a mechanism to take care of that when someone finds a dog or whatever on the loose, if it's after hours, Very well, non-workers.
Well, I can speak from personal experience there. My daughter-in-law and I were going out, and this very friendly little dog came running down the street, and when I opened the car door, it got right in the car with us. No. We took it down to the police station, and they took it in, and my daughter called the next day to see if what had happened with the dog, and they kind of said, "Dog, the dog." I mean, someone had obviously, liked this little dog, it's very friendly, and took it home. So
my only point is, and I appreciate that, maybe the language could be edited in some future version that says if after hours, take it to location XYZ. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
Because you like
Put an emergency contact number on there.
yeah, something. You just don't want people not collecting them if it's after hours. Because this would say, don't pick up the dog after hours. Okay.
So you want that included?
I'm perfectly comfortable with it. I think in the next edition, you guys ought to work it, but something's got to get worked.
Yeah, sure. You're happy with the way it is right now? Then
And we do have Jennifer here. I mean, she can discuss what happens after hours.
Okay. I'll go to the, okay. Any other questions? Well, I can come back to you. You want to come over here, please? There's an expert for us, and she can tell us.
So in regards to that, we do have somebody that's on call 24/7 if we're not on shift. So if there is a loose dog, we do try to avoid a whole lot of overtime. But if it's a situation where somebody has picked up an animal and doesn't know what to do with it, we come out and we'll come and get it. We might not always be happy about coming out to the morning, but we will do it. And we just like to know when we go to a shelter in the morning and there's a dog sitting out there, we'd rather know where it came from, if it was some owned animal or if it was found off the street. So I'd rather somebody just call the police department and call us out at whatever time and just have us come over and we'll just meet and see where it came from.
Yeah, I completely get it. I'm just trying to think about, our ordinance tells one thing. We don't want to discourage people, so maybe Nancy, it would be an edit that's, here's what happens after hours.
But we can put this on our website.
Yeah, go to the website, that's fine.
Information that if you see,
Yeah.
and we're running it on our just call.
Yeah, most people are not going to read the ordinance when they find a dog, so the website's not there.
Yeah, and because you can put so many things, and then if you start doing everything, it becomes a big package. Okay, yeah, thank you. Is there anything else you want to add?
I have a question, Mayor, Order, okay. Do you have a lot of calls for feral cats?
It seems to be decreasing. We still have calls about people requesting traps to get rid of them, get them off their property. That's usually our main call. We still get calls every once in a while about them just being destructive.
Are they euthanized, or do you try to find them homes?
Feral cats are very hard to place. So they're typically euthanized. Unless we have somebody out there, a rancher or something that's looking for just barn cats, which is very, very rare. They're usually euthanized.
Doesn't sound very humane society type.
It's more humane than them running in the streets and getting hit and, carrying disease and giving it to other animals, things like that. There's always that.
Okay, thank you.
And we do, our euthanasia program is very humane. It's with all the laws that in all our training that we get, we do humanely euthanize every animal that comes in there that is
One more question, who's going to enforce all this?
We are going to try and enforce this the best that we can. The ordinance is going to be in place, so if we do run into an issue where somebody is having problems with somebody feeding feral cats, or the feral cats that somebody's feeding is causing a disturbance, we have an ordinance that we can go to enforce instead of what we have now, which currently is just charging somebody for running at large.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we will leave it as is. Okay. All right. Now I need a motion. Who's going to Nancy? You want to make a motion?
I move. Can you have comments from audience on this?
I'm sorry. Any other comment? Okay, I'm sorry. What? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Eric Zeitler. I live in Ward 2 on the west side of town, and there's a lot of wide open lots out there. People with their dogs run wild. I've never, and they bark a lot too. That's very annoying, of course. And they, sometimes during the day, but also at night. So I didn't know whether the city had an ordinance about containing dog pets within a fence or chaining them. What is the ordinance on that?
We have an ordinance, so.
Yes, we did. So is it?
So you can call the police department and then.
Yeah, and make an enemy of a neighbor for having their pet picked up. But then I just wondered, I'm fairly new to Alpine, so I didn't know what the ordinance was.
I think this ordinance is on the website. Yes. Go on the website and read it and see how your situation is. Okay, thank you. I'll come back to the ordinance in just a minute. Let me have the motion. Nancy.
I move that we have the first reading of animal ordinance 2015-11-01, amending chapter 10 of the Code of Ordinances, Animals, Article 1 and Article 2.
Okay, second.
Awesome.
Okay, the motion has been made and second to approve the first reading of Animal Ordinance 2015-11-01, amending chapter 10 of the Code of Ordinances, Animals, Article 1 and Article 2. I'll go to the audience in a few minutes. If any councilman, do you have any points or discussion to make? The reason I had to cut it off is because she's on the staff and I've been into her opinion. Okay, she is not the audience, but I let you do it. So I had to have the motion before that the audience get involved in it. Okay. All right, now I'll go to the audience. Go ahead. Carl, do you want to say something?
Carl Fleming, Ward 5. Apparently somebody on the advisory board has 6 pets rather than 5, so that decision has been made to up it. Because we've gone, ever since I've lived in Alpine, it's been 5. Horses, dogs, cats, whatever. People do not keep their cats leashed in their yards. Well, I lived over there on Orange Street, and I caught 37 cats, I think, in 5 years or something like that. And I started taking care of them myself. I didn't kill them or anything. I took them out and released them. But I was calling the animal control, and one day I went out there and watched what they did with them after they left. The 2 blocks down the road, they stopped and let them out. So I don't think they do that anymore because they now have a kennel or whatever out here. But I think you need to put something in the newspaper about this ordinance because I happen to know one person who feeds a hell of a bunch of feral cats. And it won't come as a surprise if maybe he sees it or hears about it. But I know he keeps quarters supplied for the cat food.
Okay, yes.
Man, sit after 2 hours sitting on this chair, I don't know why he's gonna follow. Can I say it from here?
Okay, go ahead.
Angela Loomis, Ward 1. Okay. Another way of notifying if you see an animal, anytime, day or night, is usually you take a picture of it, put it on Facebook, no time at all, I'll send it back or call you.
Thank you. Any other comment? Okay, hearing none, Councilman, do you have anything further to say on this issue? Okay. Now we are approving the first reading of Animal Ordinance 2015-11-01. And those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, nays. Ayes have it, 5-0. Number 12, discuss and consider adopting resolution denying the councilman. I'm going to read, instead of reading for the days, I'm going to talk with the city manager. Because on the water sewer authority, we have to stay away from words like deny and this and that. But we can do the following. So I'm going to read this. Discuss and consider adopting resolution opposing AEP request the Public Utility Commission of Texas for approval of the distribution cost recovery factor, DCRF. That is what you're saying, deny. So it says we are opposing it. And we will have the resolution amended. Okay? This has same thing with that. So, Councilman, that is what this item number 10 and number 12 is. The council is being asked to vote to oppose AEP request for the distribution cost recovery factor. That's for $150,000 question. Okay. Do you want to say something before we ask permission? Or is it cut and dry? You're ready to make a motion, anybody?
I'm ready to make a motion.
You make a motion?
Yeah, okay. I move that we adopt a resolution to oppose the AEP Texas North Company DCRF rate case filing. AEP Texas North Company in seeking an increase in distribution of revenues.
Okay. All right. Are you keeping that amount in there too? Are you,
Well,
or because we don't know, is that the exact amount of that?
I have no idea.
So we can leave that amount up.
It is, but we can leave it out.
Okay. And then whatever the council is doing, okay. All I want is that we start nice here first. Okay. Anything you want to add? You want to add to this item?
No, sir,
So we can
I hope I put enough information in the back.
Okay. Council, do you have any question or point?
Yes, I support that, because we don't have the authority to deny them anyway. That's part of the utility commission. That's exactly what we can oppose.
You can oppose it.
We can get something to it.
Isn't it something that our highly paid lawyer should have caught?
Well, I don't see him, so you should have. Word denied, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. You should have taken care of. But anyway, point well taken. Okay, any other comment to make by the council?
I guess the only comment I have is that it's difficult. I understand how the PUC works. I understand what AP is trying to do. I just have a hard time them coming back and now saying we want money that we've already invested. They should have got that done up front, not do a retroactive. So.
Okay. Any other comment? Okay, I'm going to go to the audience. Any comment on the side? Okay. Before I ask the vote, would you please make a feedback? I need
Testing you tonight.
so they all understand what they're voting on.
Okay, Rick moved to adopt resolution opposing AEP Texas North Company DCRF rate rate case filing AEP Texas North Company seeking an increase in distribution revenues.
Okay. All right. You have heard the motion. It has been discussed. Unless you need further discussion, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nays. Ayes have it. 5-0. The motion passes. Next item is councilman comments and answers. I'll start with Rick.
It's great to see so many people here today, and it's too bad they kind of whittled out along the way. But, it's nice to have a full house there.
Okay.
I agree with the number of people that were here and were interested in what we're doing. And I thank everybody for coming. And I appreciate the reports that we got. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir. I like the idea that a lot of people can do it, especially a constituent of mine back there, Kevin. Yeah, anyway, whoever got me these two cookies Yes, thank you. I don't know, she said she didn't do it, so I don't know where they magically appeared. And also too, just one other quick thing, for those of you that are regulars here and know that my wife always comes to these things, she is still in Dallas working out misdirected baggage with American Airlines. It's a nightmare. Okay, that's all.
So you got Dallas to do the cookies? It's magic. It's magic.
Magic. You said it came off the floor, so I
I believe in magic. Have you heard of that song? Okay, Cynthia.
I also want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I had a busy week. I was up at Taurus last night at the awards. I was there for 2 hours. There was a lot of awards that were being issued out from the university, and that was a big plus. I also sat in on my first meeting with the library. That was very exciting and interesting, and I will be back and encourage everyone to go back to Saros on Thursday. There's going to be another presentation at 6 o'clock, I believe. And Counselor Stevens will be presenting that.
Okay, that's it.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and for those of you who stayed especially. The reports were very interesting. I felt like I was almost in a criminal justice class here, Judge. Learned a lot, realized how poorly the TV portrays some of that. And I think we accomplished a lot tonight, and I'm glad. Thank you.
And again, thanks for coming and thanks for staying. As far as the judge is concerned, she almost is a professor. She has a PhD. So whenever she comes over here to podium, I know that it's not going to be just simple numbers. And now the meetings, as always, have been pretty productive. And we are going to adjourn from this, and we're going to go in executive session. So do I have a motion from the council member to go in executive session?
I need to go to executive.
Okay. Motion has been made and second to go in executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551-071, consultation with attorney. And those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, nays. Ayes have it. We're going to go in executive session. We'll take a 10 minutes break. Okay.
Daniel, that doesn't sound good.
I'm trying to get rid of
Eric, I'll go ahead.
Yes, Abel will switch it over for us. Switch over to this guy. Hey. Hi, everyone.